After abuse, your body doesn't feel like home anymore. It feels like a war zone. Every touch is suspect, every flutter in your stomach feels dangerous, and every time you think about desire, your brain whispers, is this attraction or another trap? Here's the truth that nobody told you. Your body keeps the score, but it also keeps the map. And if you want to start safely dating again, if you want to reclaim desire without it leading you back to danger, you need to remap your body as sacred territory. Because pleasure isn't just fun, it's data. It's the compass that shows you where safety lives and where chaos cannot touch you. And if you are brave enough to explore it, pleasure becomes the first place you get to rebuild your confidence. I'm Megan Webster, an abuse recovery coach, a trauma-informed strategist, and the woman a narcissist hopes to never meet twice. This is the Narcissist Worst Nightmare podcast, where survival ends, shadow becomes power, and you step into the dark empath identity that makes you magnetic, untouchable, and incapable of ever settling again. After abuse, desire doesn't feel clean. It feels confusing. Your body remembers the adrenaline of walking on eggshells, the cortisol spikes of waiting for rage, the dopamine hit when you finally got crumbs of affection after weeks of silence. So when you feel a rush in dating now, your body doesn't know if it's chaos or chemistry. This is why I have clients tell me, I don't trust myself anymore. I don't trust who I'm attracted to. I don't trust what my body is telling me. And this is what I share with them. Your body is not broken, it's programmed. And what has been programmed can also be rewired. Here's where we're going to start. You don't rebuild confidence in a mirror. You rebuild it in your body, and that means self-exploration. Touching yourself not as an act of shame, but a reclamation of safety. Showing your nervous system what grounded turn-on feels like when it's not tied to fear, punishment, or somebody else's approval. The first step in trusting others again is the requirement to trust your own body first. When I first left my ex-boyfriend, who was a narcissist, and we dated for 4 years, I was also trying to stay sober. I had a mentor in recovery, and one day she gave me a gift. I opened it. It was a vibrator. I was shocked. My visceral reaction was, I do not need this. I am 29. I can just go find somebody. Now, she knew about my relationship being abusive, and what she shared with me still stays very close to my heart. She said, you are in a vulnerable place, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And opening myself up to a stranger when I'm healing from abuse would be detrimental to my recovery. I still thought she was insane. I felt embarrassed. I felt shame. Less than a month later, okay, I was itchy to date. I wanted to test myself. I wanted to see if I was dateable. And gosh, today I know that poor girl was absolutely not ready, but I thought I was. And then I remembered the toy. I had her voice in my head and I thought, fuck it. I cannot tell you how empowered, in control, in the safety of my own home, completely satisfied I felt. It opened up a whole new world for me. I called her the next morning to share what had happened and to thank her. It was the start of my self-exploration journey. It taught me so much about myself, my body, what I appreciated, what I liked, what I didn't like. I was pleasure mapping myself and redefining what I wanted and needed without dating, or opening up to somebody new, or let's be honest, running back to my ex. Since then, my toy collection has expanded. I am the most confident that I've ever been in my own body, in my own mind, and sexually. Once I knew I could give myself everything that I wanted and needed, I didn't crave running to dating, to fall into bed with somebody, and I wasn't turned on by rushing into things. It made dating as a whole a lot more safe for me. And this is something that I share with my clients who are going through a separation or a divorce or a breakup, whether that's abusive or not, so they can anchor into pleasure mapping safely and be fully expressed with themselves before they decide if they want to enter into that with somebody else. Pleasure is actually data, not danger. Pleasure mapping is not about sex toys and bubble baths. It's about the data. It's learning what a safe turn-on feels like. It's noticing the difference between an adrenaline spike that collapses you versus a steady warmth that expands you. That means tracking your sensations in real time. Does this make me feel open, or do I feel tense? Is my breath shallow or is it deep? Do I want more of this, Or do I feel like I want to recover from it? I had a client tell me that she realized she was mistaking panic for butterflies. And that's the point, right? Like once you can name the difference, you stop walking back into danger that you believe is dressed as desire. When I first started exploring my body after abuse, I kept waiting for that same rush that I used to get, the one that felt like a lightning bolt that left me shaky and restless, but it didn't come. What I felt was steady, warm, quiet. One of my first thoughts was, this is kind of boring. Where's the spark? And over time, what I realized, the spark I was missing wasn't desire, it was the chaos. It was my nervous system trying to chase that adrenaline because that's what I had been wired to think that love and intimacy felt like. So instead of running from that quiet, I leaned in and I mapped it. I noticed how my breath stayed deep instead of catching in my chest, how my body softened instead of tensing, how the warmth spread instead of spiking and crashing. And that's when things started to click. This was not boring. This was actually safety. And my body was showing me what a real turn on felt like without having fear attached to it. And once I learned that difference in myself, I could not unsee it anywhere else. Not in dating, not in relationships, and certainly not in sex. That is what pleasure mapping does for you. It shows you what feels boring at first is actually your nervous system doing some healing. And once you get that, you stop confusing panic for passion and you start trusting the quiet fire of safety instead. But here is the savage truth. Most of you don't give yourself the chance to find out. You do not take time for self-exploration. You still hand your body over like it's an addition. You're waiting for him to show you what you like. You're waiting for them to tell you if you're sexy. You're waiting for them to decide when and how you get touched. Pleasure mapping is something that flips that script for you. It's not about making it hot for somebody else. It's about reclaiming your body as yours first. Self-exploration is really ground zero of confidence. When you slow things down and you touch yourself without rushing, when you breathe into the sensation instead of bracing against it, you start teaching your nervous system a new language. Calm as your chemistry. This is how we start to rewire and stop mistaking panic for passion. How you stop walking back into men who feel like a high but always end up in a collapse. You stop asking, am I turned on or am I in danger? And you start knowing this feels expansive, this feels safe, and this is all mine. Pleasure without boundaries is just chaos. Pleasure with boundaries becomes sacred. And here's what I mean by that. The first time you say no and still feel turned on, that's sacred. The first time you let someone touch you and your body doesn't brace for impact, that is sacred. Pleasure mapping is about showing your body over and over that safety isn't punishment, it's power. And this is why boundaries are so erotic, because when you're anchored, when you're clear, when you know you can walk away at any second, that's when desire gets to expand. That's when yes gets to be electric instead of obligated. This is why I teach women to self-explore as a boundary practice. It's not just about an orgasm. It's about learning what enough feels like. It's about saying, I'm done now, and honoring that, even when the voice in your head says, keep going. That's the programming. That's the sacred fire. And this is where Forage in the Fire comes in, because this is not theory. This isn't some light a candle and love yourself Pinterest shit. This is about dragging your nervous system into the flames, feeling the shakes, the discomfort, and refusing to collapse. On October 23rd, Forged in the Fire, Scars into Sovereignty is happening for free, live one night, where you get to burn down the wiring that told you chaos was sexy and safety was boring. This is a chance for you to remap your body as sacred, where you stop being for sale to your wounds and start being sovereign in your desire. When you reclaim your body, everything changes. You stop asking, am I crazy for feeling this way? And you start asking, does this expand me or collapse me? You stop tolerating sex that feels like survival, and you start demanding connection that feels like home. You stop being the applicant for love, and you set your own standard. Applicants wait to be picked. They shapeshift, they lower their voice, they hold their breath, they perform for approval. Their palms get sweaty, waiting to see if they got the role. Standards set the room. They say, here's the access point. If you cannot rise to it, you cannot get in. And that is really what the black cat woman is. She knows her body is sacred ground. She knows her nervous system is her compass. She knows the difference between the chaos that hooks and the calm that heals. Because when you rise from abuse into sovereignty, your body doesn't betray you anymore. It protects you, it guides you, and it only points towards the love that deserves you. And let's be a little savage here, okay? Nothing is sexier than a woman who trusts her own body. That is the kind of confidence that makes you insanely magnetic, untouchable, and free. That's the power that makes abusers irrelevant. The kind of sovereignty that turns you into the narcissist's worst nightmare. If this episode cracks something open in you, good. That means you are not just healing, you are evolving. Share this with another woman who needs it. Hit follow so you do not miss the next one. Send me a DM on Instagram to tell me what landed for you. And I know you are ready to go deeper. Join me inside of the Black Cat Academy, where women dating after abuse learn to retrain their nervous system, stop chasing chaos, weaponize their empathy, raise their standards, and become the magnetic, untouchable, and capable woman who will never settle again. Please don't forget, Forged in the Fire, Turning Your Scars into Sovereignty is happening October 23rd. Free, live, one night where you don't just talk about sovereignty, you learn to embody it. Register now. I'm going to pop the link below. This is the Narcissist's Worst Nightmare podcast. And remember, you're not just hard to break, you are impossible to replace.